Hey guys, I hope you're all doing well. I'm happy to be back this week with a brand new video for you guys. This has been highly requested, and it's a comparison of two luxury clean foundations, the Kjaer Weis Cream Foundation and the Westman Atelier Vital Skin Foundation. This has been requested ever since I posted my Westman Atelier review, which kind of gives more of a brand overview. You guys can go check that out. I actually also have a very similar style review of the Kjaer Weis foundation as well as a few of their other products. So if you're interested in either of those in particular, you can go check these out. But this is just more of like a side-by-side comparison, talk through about kind of the differences that I've noticed, different techniques that I use for both of them, different products that I use underneath them, just sort of like my experience. And hopefully this will give you some insight in case you've been debating between the two. And give a little disclaimer that the lighting might shift throughout this video, and that's because I have this beautiful tree that's right outside the window, and I'm looking into putting up some light so that it stays more consistent. But for today's video, it might go back and forth because the wind is blowing and the branches are moving and blocking bits of the sun. But anyway, brief overview of my skin type. I have dehydrated to oily skin, so if that makes any sense to some of you who might have similar skin type as me, it means that I can be quite dry but also quite oily at the same time. And in fact, right now I'm actually super dry. I have Wyleta skin food on my face right now because I'm so dry. I have like literal peeling patches on my forehead and on my chin. I'm not totally sure what's going on. I have changed up my skincare a little bit, so I'm wondering if that's contributing to it. I'll keep you guys posted as I figure it out. So quickly beforehand, a lot of you ask what SPF I use under foundation, and right now I'm using the Kypros Pot of Shade Heliotropic SPF 30. I do like the Hint Beauty, I think it's Sun Prep, that's also another great one, but because this is the one that I have open, I'm sort of using this and finishing it. So usually if I was going to be going outside or if it wasn't later in the afternoon, I'd put this on before both of these products, and I found that they work well, but I do need to powder if I have this on underneath. I used both of the products with just skincare. I've used face oils underneath them and sort of figured out what I like with which product. Okay, the change in light was really bothering me, so I had to sort of close the blinds. The lighting will change again, but we will figure this out eventually. I'm gonna start with the Westman Atelier foundation. I have this in the shade Atelier 1. This is more my tone. I wouldn't say that this is a perfect match for my skin, but this is the one that matches closest to my skin tone. I do have Atelier 2 as well, and it was too deep for me. Now, Westman Atelier's Vital Stick Foundation is $68. It is not in a refillable container like the Kjaer Weis foundation, although when I posted my review, someone did comment that they had reached out to the brand and they had heard that they are trying to make their packaging more refillable or sustainable in the future. They're already looking into that. So hopefully that's something in the future. Westman Atelier's foundation has 14 shades, although I don't think it is a very representative shade range. I'm hoping that they will increase it as their brand becomes more popular and as they grow. But right now it is 14 shades that I feel like all err on the side of light to medium, with maybe one shade that's medium deep. There's definitely a lot of room for expansion. This foundation lasts for 18 months, which is 6 months longer than the Kjaer Weis foundation. And there are some key differences to application with this one. This is a much softer formula than the Kjaer Weis foundation. It's easier to blend into your skin, and it has more of a velvety finish when you have it on your skin, whereas the Kjaer Weis foundation sort of melts into your skin but has maybe a slightly more matte finish. And by no means is the Kjaer Weis foundation a matte foundation. I think it's actually rather difficult to find a cream foundation that is truly matte, but it doesn't have the same sort of glowy finish as the Westman Atelier foundation. I also think the payoff of the Westman Atelier foundation is a bit more. Just with a small little dab of the Westman Atelier foundation, it really can be quite full coverage. If you guys remember, before I started putting this on, I had like a scar right here, like a pretty decent sized brown spot from a healing pimple, and the Westman Atelier foundation does a super good job of covering it, and it still looks very, very lightweight. The Westman Atelier foundation to me is very buildable. You can get it to be very full coverage while it still looks like natural skin. On an everyday basis, I don't really powder my whole face with the Westman Atelier foundation, but if I am wearing SPF or as the weather is getting warmer, I've definitely been powdering more. And for both the Westman Atelier foundation and Kjaer Weis foundation, I've been using the Ilia Fade Into You powder. I find that this is best applied with fingertips, just like I did there. I think that's one of the magic properties of this foundation, is that it applies so seamlessly with your fingertips and really blends into skin. It also does a great job of filling in my pores in areas where I have slightly larger pores, like around my nose, and sort of sits over it as if it has silicone in it, which this doesn't. So as I mentioned, this feels like a medium to full coverage for me personally. Best applied with fingertips, and I actually don't usually prep my skin with anything underneath because this is a slightly softer product. I don't feel like I really need as much, but today, because I do have some dry spots, I didn't want anything to cling to them, so I exfoliated my face well with a facial cloth, like a towel, and then I applied the Wyleta Skin Food so that this would apply quite smoothly. Moving on to the other half of my face, I'm going to be using the Kjaer Weis foundation. This is sort of a cult classic product in the clean beauty world. It was definitely a foundation that I had sought after for so many years, but because of the price tag, like the Westman Atelier foundation, it took a little while to actually get it. So during the summertime, I apply this with my fingertips because it melts pretty easily with the warmth of your skin. But during the wintertime, I found that it actually was a little bit harder to work with on my fingertips and took a lot longer to blend into my face, and often I would feel like I would miss spots blending, and then I would notice later in the day that I would have like sort of an unblended, thicker application that didn't look great. And this foundation, like the Westman Atelier foundation, is very skin-like, but like I said, it is a little bit drier. So if you have very dry skin, this might not be the cream foundation for you, although most of the time I do find that cream foundations are better for dry skin than say a powder foundation or even sometimes a liquid foundation. This one, however, has very, very natural, beautiful coverage that I would say is light to medium and makes it a really great everyday product, especially for me and my taste. So I have Wyleta Skin Food on right now, but if I wasn't using Wyleta Skin Food, I would probably use the Kjaer Weis Beautiful Oil, which makes this foundation so nice to work with and also acts a bit like a silicone primer and sort of helps to let the foundation glide over larger pores or imperfections. So when it is colder out or I don't feel like this is blending right, I use this Gressa brush with it, which has made a world of difference. I really, really like how this applies with this brush. So I just get a nice amount on it. I'm going to use a mirror for this side. I'm the shade Weightless, and I feel like this is kind of exactly my skin tone, whereas the Westman Atelier one is maybe slightly off from my skin tone, but I can still get away with it. So there are 16 shades of this foundation, and Kjaer Weis is already expanding their shade. I think they added 2 since last year, and I'm sure they'll continue to add as it gains popularity. But again, their shade range is a lot of light to neutrals with just a few deep shades, but they do have more deep shades than Westman Atelier at this current moment. So if you have a deeper skin tone and you've been wanting to try these two, I personally think you would be better off with the Kjaer Weis foundation because there are more options for you to choose from. Now this again is a really seamless foundation, which is why it's always interesting to compare these two because they both are incredibly skin-like. This foundation to me doesn't give as much of a velvety glow as the Westman Atelier foundation, but you still get really beautiful coverage and it looks very skin-like. The Kjaer Weis foundation actually now comes at a variety of price tiers because they just released new packaging called their Red Edition, and it's just sort of like this palette. It's a really luxurious paper palette that is fully recyclable. So you can just purchase the pan insert because all of these are refillable, and just the pan refill is $45. Or you can purchase their new Red Edition, which is the recyclable packaging, and that's $53. Or you can buy the regular packaging like the one I have here, and this is $68, so the same price as the Westman Atelier foundation. This foundation has a shelf life of 12 months once opened, and I use this every day for a very long time, and I'm probably at about 8 months of it, and I still have a decent amount left. So although 12 months seems like a short amount of time for a foundation, I actually think that there is enough product in here to get you through those 12 months easily. So that is both of the sides of my face done. The Westman Atelier foundation feels a little bit more like it sets, whereas the Kjaer Weis foundation is sort of movable throughout the day and you can kind of blend it to where you need it to go. Both are pretty transfer proof as long as you're not applying a lot of them. I don't get really any rub off on my fingers. I think overall these foundations are comparable except for a few aspects. One being sort of the finish. If you want more of a velvety finish, I would go with the Westman Atelier foundation. If you want a slightly more matte finish, I would go with the Kjaer Weis foundation. And then also in texture, the Kjaer Weis foundation is a little bit more solid and not quite as soft of a formula as the Westman Atelier foundation. So like I said, if you do have drier skin, I would try the Westman Atelier foundation. If you have normal skin, I would try the Kjaer Weis foundation. Both, I think, would need powder if you do have oily skin. So if you have a favorite powder, try it out with them. Like I said, for me, it's the Ilia Fade Into You powder, and I just really use this on my T-zone and sort of around my nose and chin, the areas that I get a little bit shiny. I know some of you are gonna ask, like, what's my preference, what's my favorite? And honestly, I have to admit that I really love both of these foundations equally. Both are so natural, and for me, natural foundation is everything, something that really blends into your skin, something that looks really seamless, and something that you can apply a little or a lot of and sort of work it into your skin. I find with both of these that I can just apply the foundation almost like a concealer, or just in areas where I have a little bit of pigmentation or underneath my eyes where I'm a bit dark, and I can blend that out into my normal skin and leave other parts of my skin bare, and it still looks really beautiful, and I get the coverage where I need, but it doesn't really look like I'm wearing any makeup. So that's sort of what this category of foundation is. It's like the no makeup foundation. I hope that this helped a little bit explain the differences. I know it was probably a bit hard to see the difference on my skin right now because the lighting's not too great, and also on top of that, they're very similar. But I hope just talking about it and explaining a little bit and seeing it apply with different tools like my fingers or brushes is helpful for you guys. If you do have this foundation already and you're struggling with it, maybe you picked up a tip or two. If you guys have any other questions about how they compare, just let me know in the comments down below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. I think this is actually going to be the only video for this week. I'm sort of dedicating the other time that I would use to put up a video on Thursday to start getting my Patreon set up for you guys so that I can start putting videos up on there. So that's really exciting. I'll keep you guys posted as always when that goes live and when it's all ready. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing really well. I feel like I haven't talked to you all in a long time, so let me know in the comments how you guys are doing. How are things around you? What have you guys been up to? Let me know. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. I hope you enjoyed this video. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Bye!